Hi, I'm Bob, Nico's assistant. In this video, I am going to walk you through my track, The Lords of Time. We will first have a look at the piano sketch, and then I will show you how I orchestrated it. You can listen to the whole track at the end of this video, or by using one of the links below. Okay, let's do this. Here, I am using one of my orchestral templates. I will not go into its details, nor show you all the libraries that I'm using. It is not the point of the video, but when it makes sense, I will show that to you. Also note that my template is already balanced, so I usually don't have to adjust volumes or mix as I am writing. At the top of my template I have 3 piano tracks that I use for sketching. Most of my tracks start this way. One track for the melody, one for the harmony, and sometimes a third one for decorative purpose like an ostinato. Most of the time, I sketch the whole track, from intro to finish, using these 3 patches only. There is this recurring question on forums. Do you start with the melody or the chord progression? Well, for this one, I started with a simple ostinato motif that I had in my head. It's neither the melody nor the chord progression, but it will definitely have an impact on the scale that I'm going to use next. Let me use my poor piano skills to play you what I had in mind. This very simple idea is the foundation of the track to come. When I'm done playing it, I record it, and then I hard quantize it and set a unique velocity. The goal here is not to recreate a real performance, but to sketch a guideline that I will use to orchestrate the track. As I am a very slow sheet music reader and writer, I use this in the same way other composers would use sheet music. I've also set the tempo that I think would fit with the piece. My next step will be to take this 1-bar motif and develop it on 4 bars. Sometimes 8, sometimes 6, sometimes 16. Whatever. You get the idea. Here I went with 4 bars because I'm lazy. At this point, I like to test my sketch on different instruments so that I can get an idea of the colors I am going to use. Let's just copy and paste this on a flute patch to see how this could sound. Of course, I need to adjust the range to fit with the instrument as well as the articulation. Yeah, why not? Of course, I used only one articulation and didn't adapt the velocity, so it sounds very mechanical. But it gives me an idea of the tone. I will try to double this with violas. Me like some violas because it sounds like violence and I want to write a powerful epic track. Okay. I see this working. Maybe later in the track. The next move would be to figure out which scale could work with this little motif. From the chosen scale, I will be able to build a chord progression. I know that F harmonic minor is the most likely scale, but I don't know each scale off the top of my head. This is why I use a plugin called Scalar. I can simply copy my MIDI on a scalar track, and it will detect all possible scales that could fit. Sure enough, the F harmonic minor scale is the first one in the list. But there are others like the E super Locrian diminished scale. I don't even know what the hell that is, but this is how it sounds. If you see a second scalar track here, it is because at the time of recording this video scalar version 2 just got released, and I am evaluating it before committing it to my template. Now that I know that I'll be using the F harmonic minor scale, I chose chords that fit with my motif. Simple chords taken from the scale. Nothing fancy. No seventh or diminished chords. And I use the chord track lane to place my chords, so that I get a visual cue as to what is happening. I can already hear some elitists choking. Oh boy. I can't wait to post this video on the VI Control forum. Here we go. It doesn't sound like much, but in my head, I can already hear where this will go. I will also need a melody. Before I start with that, I will just render the notes from the chord track as MIDI events. I've also dropped my motif one octave lower as I don't want it to overlap with the melody. As I am not that familiar with the F harmonic minor scale, I'm using a trick to make sure that I'll be playing my melody within the scale. I use a complete control MIDI keyboard by Native Instruments. It comes with its own driver, and it serves as a container for contact. At the top, I can select a scale and the light guides on my keyboard will show me which notes are part of the scale. Let me show you a photo of that. Now that my keyboard is set up, I select one of my sketching patches to play the melody in. I want to write some kind of bombastic track, so a horn section seems to be appropriate. I use the horns from the Sonuscore library called the Orchestra. It doesn't sound really good, but it is very playable with close to no latency. After a lot of fumbling, I came up with a melody that sounds like this. Again, I copied it to my sketching piano, set the velocity to a fixed value and hard quantized it. Following the same principles that I have shown you until now, I developed my 4 bars of motif into a full main theme. At this point, I like to test my sketch a bit more on the orchestra. I would really like the main motif to be played by the violas. This time, I edited the articulations a bit and tweaked the velocities too to give a better impression of how this could sound. It sounds a bit weak, so I doubled the violas with the cellos to get more projecting power. To reinforce the beat, I use a second cello divisi that will play a little bit more in the bass register. I will also double the bass cellos with some aggressive double basses. And let's have the second violins play the motif as well, but 1 octave higher. I still think that we would need something happening in the high register to bring a feeling of tension. I like to use an evolving patch for that. If you are not familiar with the concept of evolution, Spitfire Audio has quite a lot of libraries doing just that. Here I use the fragile string evolutions. Listen how the notes that I will play will evolve over time. They are not static like if I would use a flute or harmonics articulation. There is movement in there. I would also like to mark the transition when the basses come in. I will use percussion rolls for that. I made a multi-compost of 3 instruments from the Los Angeles Modern Percussion Library. I can control the rolls with the mod wheel on my keyboard. While we are looking at the percussion section, I have selected instruments such as a timpani, tam-tam, a set of anvils, a snare and some cymbal rolls. The cymbal rolls work in the same way as the percussion rolls. They use the mod wheel too. To beef things up, I also use 3 custom multis that are built from various percussive instruments. And lastly, I will mark the transition with a sub-boom hit. Right now, I think that I'm done with the sketching part. It is time to move on to orchestrating this thing and make it sound good. I have now taken my sketch and separated the chord progressions into different acts. I have also written a B part that still uses the F harmonic minor scale. Let's have a listen to the chords. At some point, I'm using a first violin's divisi that will play the melody concertino. I love using woodwinds in my tracks. Too often, they are neglected in the epic genre. I'm using wide range of woodwind instruments such as a bass flute or a contrabass clarinet. Here the woodwinds provide support to the strings. As you can see in here, I am not deviating from my sketch that much. It's just more of the same, but using different instruments. Let's have a look at the brass. For my horns, I use a blend. First, Cinematic Studio brass. They provide the brightness of the horn sound, but, on their own, they sound a bit thin. To give them some more body, I layer them with 8th century brass. And now, together. One of my secret weapons is to layer the horns with Wagner tubas. This gives the horns the roundness that is missing. I'm providing a bass foundation with the 3 trombones from the BBC Symphony Orchestra. They sound soft yet majestic. I am just following the root notes of the chords with them. Compared to the trombones that I normally use, they sound much rounder and less brassy. In the intro and in the ending of the track, I am using a children choir. Again, just playing the chords. And speaking of choirs, I'm also using a deep men's choir. These give me chills. To give my track a bit more of a modern cinematic sound, I usually layer the loud parts with a sub-bass synth. It's very subtle, but it provides a solid foundation. If you are using earbuds or crappy laptop speakers, you will probably not hear it before I mix it properly by adding harmonics to it. Recently I have started to use Mosaic Bass by Heviosity. Like many Heviosity libraries, this thing is awesome, and I seriously love it. I use it to give more movement to the sub-bass. I then have a few special effects, like a whoosh to mark the transition from the intro to Act 1. I sometimes like to double my timpani rolls with a riser effect. I think that's it. Oh. At the end of the track, I am also using a different kind of evolving patch. Made of woodwinds this time. I will now play you the track entirely. What you will hear is both mixed and mastered, but going through the mixing stage would extend this video by at least an hour. Some other time maybe. Let me know in the comments if you would like to see that. Right. Let's play the track. You will see that it's very close to the original sketch, but hopefully sounds much better. If there is something that you would like to see in more detail, don't stay silent and let me know in the comments. Now stop watching videos and go write some great music.